last remaining territory on the planet that could have such a designation is Antarctica.
Antarctica, a huge landmass mostly covered in thick layers of ice, has forever been the center of mystery on Earth. From unusual sightings and bizarre structures to even extraterrestrial beings, Antarctica teems with many unexplained phenomena and deep secrets. And now, a former U.S. naval officer has shockingly claimed to have seen the entrance to a secret alien base and UFOs while on duty in the Antarctic. Could this claim be true? And is there something the U.S. government is aware of? Join us on an unparalleled journey that will shatter your perceptions of Antarctica as we delve into the chilling account of this U.S. flight engineer. Antarctica is a land of extremes. It is the coldest, driest, and windiest place on Earth. It is also the fifth largest continent in the world, spanning over 3.2564 million square miles of ice and snow. But beneath its frozen surface, Antarctica hides many mysteries and secrets that have eluded human understanding for centuries. One of the most intriguing mysteries of Antarctica is how it appeared on a map drawn in the 1500s, long before it was officially discovered in 1820. The map, known as the Piri Reis map, was based on older source maps that date back to ancient times. How did the ancient mapmakers know about the existence of Antarctica? What did they see there that we don't? And why did they draw it so accurately, despite the lack of modern technology? These are some of the questions that have baffled historians and scientists for decades, and we may never find the definitive answers. Another mystery of Antarctica is why it is so sparsely populated, despite its enormous size. The continent has less than 10,000 inhabitants, mostly scientists and researchers who live in temporary bases. The reason for this is the harsh and hostile environment of Antarctica, which makes it inhospitable to human life. The average temperature is minus 56.2 degrees Fahrenheit and can drop as low as minus 128.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds can reach speeds of over 186 miles per hour, and the snowstorms can last for weeks. The landscape is barren and desolate, with no plants or animals except for some penguins and seals. The ice sheet that covers 99% of the continent is up to 2.5 miles thick and contains 90% of all the ice on Earth. If it were to melt, the sea level would rise by 60 meters, flooding many coastal cities and islands. Antarctica is undoubtedly one of the most mysterious places on Earth, and it has attracted many explorers and adventurers who wanted to uncover its secrets. Some of them succeeded, some of them failed, and some of them never returned. But none of them could have imagined the chilling encounter that a U.S. Navy flight engineer had in Antarctica, which we are about to reveal. This encounter is one that raises many questions and challenges everything we thought we knew about the frozen continent. What did he see there that shocked him so much? And what does it mean for the future of humanity? You're about to find out. In the cold month of January 2015, a highly respected investigative reporter, Linda Moulton Howe, received an email that was anything but ordinary. The sender was a retired naval flight engineer who wished to remain anonymous and chose to be referred to as Brian. This desire for anonymity was not without reason, for Brian was about to reveal a series of events from his past that were as bone-chilling as the Antarctic winds themselves. From the year 1983 until his retirement in 1997, Brian had served in the icy wilderness of Antarctica, a place known for its harsh and unforgiving conditions. As a testament to his service, he presented Linda with his DD-214 documents and other certificates, including an Antarctic Service Medal awarded to him on November 20, 1984. These documents served as undeniable proof of his time spent in the frozen solitude of the Antarctic. As a flight engineer, Brian had logged more than 4,000 hours in the air over the continent of Antarctica. He claimed to have seen things that most people could not even begin to imagine. The land there seemed more alien than earthly, a place of stark beauty and mystery. Brian's station of duty was the McMurdo Station in Antarctica, a place that was as remote as it was enigmatic. Nestled on the southern peninsula of Ross Island, McMurdo was the largest research station on the continent. Established by the U.S. government in 1956, it was a bustling hub of activity, housing up to 1,200 residents at any given time. During his tenure, Bryan and his crew were tasked with flying cargo and conducting rescue operations in the harsh Antarctic environment. Their deployments to this remote land started in late September and ended at the close of February every year, a routine that continued until the squadron was decommissioned in 1999. As part of the Antarctic Squadron expedition missions, Bryan found himself frequently shuttling people in and out of various locations. In his conversations with Howe, Bryan admitted that at first glance, everything seemed perfectly ordinary, just another day in the life of a naval flight engineer. However, as the days turned into weeks and months, a series of inexplicable incidents began to unfold around him. The first of these incidents was the sudden and unexplained disappearance of a group of researchers working on a project in the nearby mountains. Bryan and his team were dispatched to investigate, but their search yielded no trace of the missing researchers. The only anomaly they discovered was a peculiar silver object partially buried in the snow, its origin and purpose unknown. A week later, the researchers showed back up to their camp and called McMurdo for someone to come pick them up. The crew got the flight back there to pick them since they put them into that camp and knew the terrain and location. But none of the scientists would talk to any of the crew on the plane, and to Bryan they looked scared. Bryan flew to almost every part of the Antarctic continent, including the South Pole, more than 300 times. McMurdo Station, which is 3.5 hours of flying time from the South Pole Station, was the point of squadron operation during their yearly deployments. Between these two stations is a mountain range called the Trans-Antarctic. With what we called severe clear weather from McMurdo to South Pole, the Trans-Antarctic are visible from the altitudes at which the aircraft flew approximately 25,000 to 35,000 feet. However, in another startling incident during a mission in the Trans-Antarctic mountains, Bryan and his crew witnessed a spectacle that defied explanation. They observed several silver objects, round in shape, darting through the sky in a bizarre synchrony. These objects moved together in a peculiar formation, darting from one peak to another in a group. Bryan described the spectacle, saying, "They're doing the strangest thing. They're going like this, peak in a group to this peak, in a group to this peak in a group, and then they'd all take off." If Bryan had been the sole observer of these objects, it might have been easy to dismiss the event as a hallucination or a trick of the light. However, these objects were witnessed by a multitude of people, leaving no room for doubt or dismissal. The sight was so extraordinary that Bryan was convinced these objects were not terrestrial in origin. Intriguingly, Bryan revealed to Howe that these sightings were not isolated incidents, but a recurring phenomenon. This revelation raises a multitude of questions. What were these strange objects that Bryan and his crew repeatedly observed? Could they be evidence of an alien spacecraft? According to the informant, who we'll continue to refer to as Bryan, the peculiarities he encountered during his time in Antarctica were numerous and mystifying. Each event was a piece of a puzzle that, when put together, painted a picture of a world far removed from the ordinary. One such incident occurred when Bryan was assigned a rescue mission. On the surface, it seemed like a routine operation, but the circumstances surrounding it were anything but. The mission required him to traverse the no-fly zone, an area strictly off-limits to all personnel. However, with lives hanging in the balance and time ticking away, the decision was made to proceed. As Bryan embarked on the rescue mission, he was blissfully unaware of the chilling encounter that awaited him. As his aircraft crossed into the forbidden territory of the no-fly zone, a massive cave entrance came into view. This gaping hole, slanting downwards into the ice, was an intimidating sight. Bryan estimated its diameter to be at least 200 feet. The sight was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine, even amidst the freezing Antarctic winds. But the real fear set in when all the onboard equipment suddenly ceased to function. Upon completing the medical recovery and returning to base, Bryan and his crew were met by an unexpected sight. Men in suits, clearly not from McMurdo, had descended upon the base. Their attire and demeanor set them apart from the rest, and it was evident that they hailed from Washington, D.C. Why were these men in McMurdo, thousands of miles away from their comfortable offices? The answer to this question soon became clear. They issued a stern warning to Brian and his crew, instructing them never to fly over the hole again and to remain silent about its existence. This directive was